Honorable viewers, I welcome all of you to my YouTube channel, Department of English. Today, I would like to share with you Biographia Literaria, written by S.T. Coleridge. So, let's get started. Biographia Literaria is a well-planned book of S.T. Coleridge. This book is a pregnant criticism in which we come to get a new identity of him as a critic. No doubt, his criticism reflects some basic characteristics of poetry where he seems to be very artistic, argumentative, persuasive, and innovative. The major topics of his book are: number one, a refutation of Orso's theory of poetry, the difference between imagination and fancy. Number three, the dissimilarity between primary and secondary imagination. To Coleridge, the poet is the whole man. He has a specific faculty. This faculty is imagination, which is the power of combining things. Imagination is the power of objectifying oneself. Poetic imagination helps to differentiate it between reason and understanding. Imagination is the power of changing the possible into the real. Fancy is described by Coleridge as the aggravative and associative power. The fancy acts only by a sort of combination. To Coleridge, imagination can be divided into two parts. The primary imagination is the living power and prime agent of all human perceptions. It also helps to create a universal and unique philosophy by which poetic creation is possible. To him, primary imagination leads the secondary imagination to the world of creativity. The primary imagination comes first and secondary imagination follows it. According to Coleridge, many qualifications are needed for the poet, like sensibility, passion, wills, good sense, judgment, fancy, imagination, etc. The poet must be thoughtful, metaphysician who has spiritual knowledge. Coleridge says that Orchard has mistaken the coherence of fancy with imagination. In other words, Orchard did not sufficiently distinguish the two faculties, imagination and fancy, from each other. The primary imagination is the repetition in the finite mind of the eternal act of creation in the infinite. The secondary imagination is a refit of the primary imagination. Coleridge believes that matter and rhyme are also necessary to a poem. A poet should choose subjects which are remote from his own interest and circumstances. No man can be a great poet without being at the same time a thoughtful philosopher. Coleridge says that he differs with Orchard in certain respects so far as the subjects of poetry and the language of poetry are concerned. Orchard has chosen rustic life for the composing poetry. Coleridge denies this view. To him, every man is not likely to be improved by a country life or by country labors as Orchard thinks. The persons in poetry should be clothed with general qualities. Even all Orchard characters are not chosen from low or rustic life. The characters of the poetry must be universal and representative. To him, the vocabulary of the rustics is poor. They can express only the traditional facts of nature and history. They lack of high thought. To also, there is no vital difference between the language of prose and that of poetry. Coleridge strictly denies it and says that the language varies from person to person, class to class, place to place. To him, there is a clear difference between the language of prose and poetry. Words both in prose and poetry may be the same, but their arrangement is different. Matter is an essential part of the poem. Coleridge comes to attack again on the four stages of poetry given by words such as observation, recollection, meditation, and publication. So that's all about today's topic, Literaria, written by S.T. Coleridge. For the time being, thanks for patient sharing. Bye bye.